Okay, so now we'll switch to kind of talking about tools and just hearing feedback from you about whatever. Anything stand out to you in that?
No.
Seasons.
What about seasons?
There's different places for, depending on what it is, could be under winter, spring, summer, fall. It almost seems like there's more in winter, and as you go throughout the year, you get less and less.
Hmm.
I don't know what evergreen is though.
Oh. So I started to realize.
See, I didn't catch it.
So.
I like the seasonal now. It's like, okay, go Danny.
Do you guys ever do agile at work? Okay. Do you do agile? In agile, they just have this concept of like backlog and refinement for sprints, then the sprint, and then a retrospective. So I'm in the 4-year year. I just say the winter is like the backlog, the spring is like sprint planning or refinement, the summer is the active sprint, and the fall is the retrospective. Evergreen I added because I realized there's some things I just never want to stop doing. There's just things I want to become or be.
Did you see the top one at Evergreen?
Yeah, that's true. I realized that I wasn't being very intentional about what I was wearing on camera. And yeah, you're right. So I did that today. I intentionally bought this T-shirt and you guys helped me. So yeah, I created an advancing structure for it to occur.
So these aren't corresponding to actual seasons here.
No, and that's another concept I want to raise. That I need a better word for this, but like in the same way that you can have a fiscal year, this is essentially that same concept where it's not tied to a calendar. Like for example, part of the reason I'm having this event today is because this is the end of my fiscal year, and so my year starts tomorrow. So,
Why tomorrow?
because that's when it started last year.
Oh.
Yeah.
But is the way you were describing this, like each task is going through a season? Is that the way this board is laid out?
That's how this board is laid out, but maybe I should pause to talk about the Audi logo. But just to answer your question, yes, these tasks are going through that season, but also I am going through seasons. So sometimes I am in winter, sometimes I am in spring, sometimes I am in summer. It's like, think of it as a dominant time period. Like for this last year, I was in a winter or a spring. Probably, if I had to pick one, it was a winter. Now I'm entering in my spring. Because I use the 4-year U concept uses these ideas of the natural cycles of the year to describe seasons of your life. So, in my case, I had a fall season end last August, and so it started a winter season. And in the 4-year year, a season lasts a whole year. And I'm now entering my spring season where I'm preparing for what's next. But I'm also always doing all these things. So you can think of it as themes that you're in, but there's a recursion to this, which is every day has this cycle. Every month has this cycle, every year has this cycle, and every 4 years has this cycle. So then you start to get super cycles. Like for example, the fall of the fall of the month and the fall of the year is when you have, is the last week of October, November, and December. So that's when you have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. So that's the rejoicing of the rejoicing season. It's the super cycles. Same way in like the summer, you've got the summer of the summer. That's when you have, 4th of July, Labor Day, Memorial Day. And so the everyday cycle is you wake up from your slumber, you kind of have breakfast, you have your midday productivity, and then you have your wind down. So every day has its own cycle too. You may notice in months that the first of the month, everybody's pretty cold. They're not moving very fast because they just got off of the fall where they were moving real fast. So like, let's coast a little bit. Then the second week of the month, they're like, we should probably figure out what we're going to do this month. Third week, they're like really humming. The fourth week, everything comes together, and then the cycle repeats itself to cool off. Because all your reporting is set up monthly, and it's like everybody's like trying to meet the numbers, and so it just naturally has this cycle. Of course, there's reasons why these things exist, like the moon and a woman's, period structure and all that stuff too. So there's just all these natural cycles to life that lead to all these things. And they can feed off of each other too. We all affect each other. Have you ever noticed that you get a text message from many different people at the same time? It's because if you think about it, like I text Dan, Dan looks at his text messages, texts me back, but also realizes he hasn't responded to Jason, so he'll text Jason back. Jason will then get a message and do the same thing to 2 more people, and so you get this clumping through the network. So there's even wave patterns in communications, like when we talk to each other. So like last night around 7:30, I'm getting texts from like multiple people at once because everybody decided that's when they start to talk to each other. These wave patterns. So all I'm really suggesting is one of the basic premises of the 4-year U is to recognize these patterns and work with them, not against them. Kind of like in getting things done with conditional, is that the right word? Yeah. Conditional tasks. That doesn't, context, thank you. I need to see my words wrong. For contextual tasks, ask yourself, are there certain things that are better done in the winter? Are there certain things that's better done in the spring, or certain things that's better done in summer and fall? Because it might not make sense to reflect in the middle of a summer. Because the summer is when you make hay. You make hay when the sun is shining. That's when you work. It doesn't make sense to pause and reflect when you're grinding away on something. You're in the flow state. Just work. And it also may not make sense to work really hard in the winter when that's when you're supposed to be resting. Because if you don't let your mind chill, and this goes back to like the cycle of the week, if you don't have a Sabbath and you're constantly grinding, you're going to burn out. So, all right, let's talk about a different tool I use, which is the spreadsheet.
How do you, on your Trello board, how do you reconcile the macro versus the micro? Like, you've got it overarching, you're talking about the structure. You have a structure set up for a year, but then you break it up. I mean, you were saying it's almost weekly. So how do you not lose sight of the bigger picture in all the micro elements?
Yeah, it's a good segue to this.
Oh, okay.
So different structures support different cycles. So in this case, I use a spreadsheet for the whole 4 years. But within the month I'm in, that was what Trello was. That's like the things close to me that I'm processing for that month or whatever. And so it's think of it as just different views of the same thing. So if you had like a database, you might have all your tasks in it, but then you say a view, you say, hey, only show me the tasks that are relevant for this month or the next month. And that's what Trello is. I'm just manually doing that, not using a database. But let's say for you had web software or an app on your phone, that's how it would work. Essentially, that's maybe a good segue to the journal. Does that answer your question? Okay, cool. So in here I'll just show this real quick. Summer, I got the years through 2025.
Come over and look
Yeah,
more detail.
yeah. So all I've really done here is create a structure for me to easily go in and say, hey, for these goals down here on the left, for these topics.
See, I needed more structure, so I've been waiting to see the spreadsheet.
I wanted to have a topic.
What you need in your life, more spreadsheets, right?
Yes.
And then I use this together with my calendar. So I have a calendar entry that basically says, hey, check this on Sundays. So it's like my weekly review. And then I have a quarterly that says, hey, check your quarterly goals. And then the yearly, hey, check your annual goals. And every 4 years, you have to remake this whole thing. But I'm actually remaking it as I go, because sometimes these goals that I made, a year ago are no longer applicable. So, but I have a chance every month. So what I've been doing, if I expand this out, is I'm basically saying, what happened those months. I don't know, where is the other? Oh, I see, I gotta expand it again.
So it's more like a reflection, capturing what had happened.
Yeah, so I try to say what I want to happen, and then I capture what did happen. It's not the best system, I'm still building it out, but that's the idea. And you see how there's not much there? Like, it's a whole month, but I'm only writing like one sentence sort of thing. And if you notice here, there's not much room. That's another thing I noticed from using this is like there's not much room. But the idea is that each day this sheet could represent, kind of like this, where this sheet could mean a day, it could mean a year, it could mean 4 years, it could mean a month. So in here, you don't have much room, but sometimes constraint can help because you can say, okay, well, I got to fit it in. What are the big rocks that I really care about? Like, I'll show you something like on here. I wrote somewhere in here, if I look for like house, maybe. Oh, is it not in here? This is not making me look good. But anyway, I noticed looking back, at least it's in my journal, that March I wrote down, oh, I want a blue house. And by April I had a blue house. Yeah, it's like, you got to be careful what you write down because your mind goes to work at doing it. And be careful what you say to other people because you're programming them too. Like, I'm programming you right now. It's up to you whether you accept the programming, but yet I'm nonetheless programming you. We all affect everybody else. It's really, with the kids, they're the most susceptible because whatever I say to them, they are more receptive to it. So Dan, like with your kids, if you walk up to them and say, you're so good at plumbing, you're going to be a plumber when you grow up, you'll find that they'll start identifying as being a plumber. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I meant it as volatile. You took it as fixed. Because they don't understand that when you say things to them, it's volatile. Unless you clarify it. Same way when your manager tells you something, you might assume it's fixed because they're the authority. They told you something. But from their perspective, they might be thinking it's volatile because they're agnostic to the solution. Or that the question is more volatile. So one of the things when you're working with other people is you can say, this is not going to change, or I'm agnostic about this solution. So, okay.